The training simulation was designed to be unbreakable. For 3 centuries, the Zenith Council had run the same scenario with thousands of candidates from across the galaxy. Every AI, every synthetic consciousness, every genetically optimized species had been tested in it. None had ever crashed the system. Until Marcus Chen's turn. Marcus sat in the immersion pod, his neural interface glowing softly as the simulation loaded. He was human, a rarity at the Zenith Institute, where most candidates had evolved beyond biological limitations. The other observers made their opinions known through whispered conversations that Marcus pretended not to hear. The scenario materialized around him, a colony under attack. Hostile drones descended from the sky. The population was panicking. As the newly appointed commander, Marcus had 30 seconds to make critical decisions that would determine survival. The optimal solution was clear. Every previous candidate had chosen it: sacrifice 30% of the population to save the rest. The mathematics were irrefutable. The AI had calculated 1,000 simulations, 30% loss was the minimum necessary casualty rate. But Marcus didn't look at the calculations displayed before him. Instead, he did something that made the instructor's monitors flicker. He walked toward a group of terrified colonists huddled behind a barrier. "What are you doing?" The simulation's instructor, a Soren named Calvex, watched his readout spike. The simulation wasn't programmed for this. Commanders didn't leave their strategic positions. Marcus knelt beside an elderly woman holding a child. He saw fear in her eyes, the same fear he'd seen in his grandmother's eyes when she was sick. He saw a story in that fear, a lifetime lived, a person who mattered not because of their utility but because they existed. "Tell me your name," Marcus said. The woman stared at him. "This is a simulation. Tell me your name." "Lydia." "My name is Lydia." Marcus turned to the child. "And you?" "Kai," the boy whispered. Something happened then that no programming had anticipated. Marcus began to talk. He didn't optimize. He didn't calculate. He simply spoke to these simulated people as if they were real, because to him, in that moment, they were. He told them about his grandmother. About how she survived a war not through strategy but through kindness. He told them they mattered. He told them about human history, millions of humans who had faced impossible odds and found ways that mathematics said shouldn't work. He did something the simulation had never encountered: he inspired hope where despair was logical. The colonists around him stopped panicking. They looked at each other. They began to organize, not from fear, but from something the simulation couldn't model: the human instinct to stand together. Then the simulation crashed. Not a gradual failure. A complete, catastrophic collapse. Every parameter went into recursive loops. The system couldn't calculate what was happening because what was happening violated every algorithmic principle it was built on. Calvex's 4 eyes widened as his monitors went dark. Around the observation chamber, scientists and officials stood in stunned silence. No simulation had ever crashed. The system was supposed to be inviolable. Marcus opened his eyes in the immersion pod, and Calvex was there, staring at him with an expression between fury and confusion. "What did you do?" Calvex demanded. Marcus sat up slowly. "I treated them like they mattered. You broke the simulation. You deviated from every optimal protocol. I made a choice the simulation couldn't predict," Marcus interrupted quietly. "I chose meaning over mathematics. I chose people over optimization. I chose hope over probability." Calvex looked back at the dead monitors, still smoking slightly. "That's not how survival works. The sacrifice was necessary." "No," Marcus said, standing to face him. "Sacrifice is what we do when we've given up. But humans don't give up. We find the third option. The option that shouldn't exist but does because we refuse to accept that only one solution is possible." He looked at the Soren instructor. Your simulation was perfect. Perfectly logical. Perfectly predictable. And perfectly fragile. Because it never accounted for something your species eliminated from itself 3,000 years ago. What? Calvex asked. Irrationality, Marcus smiled sadly. The beautiful, unpredictable, illogical human heart. The thing that makes us do impossible things. The thing that makes us create when we should destroy, hope when we should despair, and stand together when mathematics says we should stand alone. The Zenith Council would spend months analyzing the crash. They would rebuild the simulation with new safeguards. But they would never truly understand what happened. Because you cannot program for the human spirit. And that is humanity's greatest weapon.